my name is Fredrik Heintz. I'm a professor of computer science at Linköping University in Sweden, where I do research on AI and autonomous systems, and have been doing that for about 25 years. And we are very much interested in how can we develop the AI technology, but also make use of it so we actually can create value for society.
Can we talk about artificial intelligence and lifelong learning?
Yes, so what we see today is rapid development in AI. So we see, great improvements in this kind of text generation, image generation, video generation, and so on. But also we are seeing some of the kind of limitations of this technology that it's hard to know whether you can actually trust the results, because of course sometimes they make mistakes or they're doing things which looks good, but then when you look at the details, actually there's a lot of funny things going on. So I really think this means that the development will continue. And I think one area which I think is very interesting is this what's called Neuro Symbolic AI, where you're combining data-driven machine learning with more symbolic knowledge-driven techniques. So for example, if you want to teach say an autonomous car traffic rules, of course you could kind of show it a million or billions of different traffic situations and let it learn the traffic rules from those observations. But actually it would be much simpler and much more direct to just give it the traffic rules, and then it wouldn't have to need to learn them. So I think this is probably where I think the next wave, next generation of this AI technology will go. And I also think this is actually very important for this human AI collaboration, because even though the AI systems are getting more powerful and getting more competent, I still think that the combination is better than either on their own. And I think we need to focus on these complementarities where humans are good at certain things and these machines and AI systems are good at other things. And then by working together, we will be able to solve more complex and more interesting problems.
That's really interesting, the way you're discussing that around a new way of looking at AI and augmentation. So thinking of education, skills, lifelong learning, what do we need to be thinking of for the future for us to be able to help with this type of augmentation?
So I think first of all, we have to realize that there's no point in competing with the machine. So it's like trying to compete with a pocket calculator. It might be fun, you might be able to do it a few times, but over time you will not have a chance to do these kind of calculations yourselves. But at the same time, by using a pocket calculator, you can solve more difficult problems, and you don't have to spend the time doing the kind of tedious calculations. So then actually it allows you to progress. And I think it's the same thing here with, say, using these large language models, for example, coding, which I think is probably one of those areas, or I would say jobs that will probably be influenced the most on the short term, because we're already seeing today that basically if you use this language model to support your coding, you can basically improve your productivity with like 60% or something like that. So then of course the question becomes, how do I use these tools in a good way? And I think first of all, we need to realize that we need to be able to ask the right questions, or rather formulate, if we're talking about programming, we need to formulate what we want the program to do. And then when you get the generated code, for example, you need to be able to verify that actually the code is correct. So I think we need to focus more on describing what we want, and then verifying and checking the output that we get, that it actually satisfies our requirements in this particular case.
As you said, it's no point us trying to compete with the pocket calculator. So what should we be thinking of skills-wise to be able to complement what AI and generative AI can be doing as to opposed to human skills? What are those sort of essential skills we should be focusing on for our workforce for the future?
So one thing I think is different is that, we used to focus a lot on answering questions. If you're an engineer, you're basically a problem solver, or if you're doing auditing, and if you're a market specialist and so on, you are there to kind of answer these questions and solve these problems. I think we maybe need to focus more on actually generating the questions and then verifying the answers, rather than answering questions themselves. So for example, I used this example of programming. We could also take, say, marketing. So there I think what's being used is to rapidly prototype together with the customer, instead of having long cycles where they have to go to their designers to maybe the day after get their suggestions for how design should be they can do it directly. So they can have a very rapid interaction with the customer and help them, guide them through this process of generating the content that the customer wants. So I think that is probably something you need to be able to elicit what do the customer want, and then translate it to something that these AI-based tools can actually produce, and then you need to verify or to check that it actually makes sense and that it's in line with the customer's needs.
And what if you could dream and dream big, nationally, locally, individually, what would you want to be able to see in individuals, in nations and across the world to be able to reach the future?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we need a number of things. So first of all, we really need this AI literacy. So everyone needs to know the basics of AI, and more importantly, how does it influence me as an individual, and dealing with this, how do I determine if something is fake or real? So these things I think is kind of the starting point. Then I think what we really need also is this more profession-based skills. So I mean, how do these AI tools influence? I mean, I've been using programming as one example, but you could also say law or medicine. What does it mean for those professions? And again, I think what we will, and I would argue we don't know what that is today, but that's something we really need to research and develop. What are these profession-specific or domain-specific knowledges? And here I think we have a challenge, especially if you're looking at the educational systems, and that is that either you're an engineer or a computer scientist working on technology, or you're a medical doctor or a HR specialist or a lawyer. But what we need now are people that understand both domains sufficiently well so they can actually develop and use these AI tools. Because I think, I mean, as I mentioned before, even though these tools are quite impressive already today, I think we're still only in the beginning. And that I think is really what I would like to see going forward. How do we make these profession-specific skills and competences? And I don't think we don't know that yet, but that is of course why we're doing this, why we're doing research on this.
Do you see a future where AI can help with that interconnectivity, that interdisciplinary skills? Is that a future you could see as well, or is that one we should avoid because we want to be able to, like you said, have critical thinking and stuff like that?
So it depends slightly on what you mean, but I think when it comes to this being able to translate between domains and translating between different professions, actually this could be an area where these kind of tools would be very successful and very useful, just like they're very good at translating between languages. So today you can basically get automatic translation from virtually any language. You basically do the voice transcription, and then you translate the text, and then you do voice synthesis so you can generate the voice in a different language. And actually this is something that's starting to be used in Swedish courts. We basically just plug in, tell for each microphone in the courtroom which language is this person speaking, and then you can produce this in a common language, I guess Swedish in our case mostly, but then you can speak your whatever language is your native tongue to help you in the situation. So I think we could do similar things when it comes to translating between different disciplines. So actually this could help and support and enable more interdisciplinary work, because I mean, if we're looking at all this kind of challenging probleming, take energy or security and climate and all these things, I mean, they are really complex and complicated problem. It's not just one technology, it's not just one competence that you need, but you really need to understand how these systems work, how they influence influence the different parts. And I think here we really have an opportunity to be able to address more complex, more challenging, and of course more important problems.